Welcome to Tech Talk for Meeting Planners. My name is Josh Felix.
And I'm Richard Runge.
And on today's episode, we're having a roundtable discussion about our industry during this pandemic. Let's hear from our panel first.
Hello, everyone. Gordon Stake, Managing Partner of Event Marketing Partners. We're a global meetings and events company helping our clients around the world produce events. Glad to be here today.
Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Pilcher, CEO and Executive Producer for Blue Spark Event Design. We produce corporate conferences and incentive trips for our clients nationally and internationally.
Chris?
Good afternoon, Chris.Mueller, General Manager here at the Hilton Orlando, where we have over 300,000 flexible meeting space and 1,424 guest rooms awaiting your arrival.
And Christine?
Hi, I'm Christine.Eschenauer. I am the Director of Marketing Operations at Akerman, and we are a full-service national law firm.
Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Greatly appreciate it. Richard, kick us off with our first question.
Will do. Chris, I'm going to start with you. You're with the Hilton Orlando. Obviously, you're aware of what's going on in your hotel. I'm assuming you do around the country, too. How has this thing affected the hotel industry, and what changes do you see coming up that will have to be made in order to have events?
Sure, absolutely. It's been devastating to the business. Our hotel is connected. We have a walkway to Orange County Convention Center here on International Drive, which is the second kind of busiest Orlando marketplace besides theme parks. And as we all know, Orlando welcomed 75 million guests last year. And pretty much it has, stopped immediately, this COVID outcome. And I've been fortunate where we've been open. When I say we're running in the teens of a 1426 room hotel, that should say that it's been devastating. I will tell you, we're starting to see some good signs. We are talking about bringing in AAU, which is one of their most elite volleyball tournaments that is held usually in June for many years. It's where all the collegiate scouts come out and are looking to take high school, start making offers to high school students in volleyball. And we are still planning. Typically, it was about 50,000 that would attend. Right now, it's at 30,000. Still planning to forge forward here in June. OCC, which is Orange County Convention Center, has partnered with Florida Hospital, which has sent out a message to all AAU affiliations about all the safe practices that Orange County Convention Center has put in place. One of the main things they're going to do is have the athletes still play, but without an attendance. So parents will be able to view their children via some type of technology app, so they can still see their kids compete, and they'll be able to still be competing at a very high level, but just students for students. So looking forward to it. It's bringing a great show and slight sign of resurgent back here. We need it. We need to
Absolutely.
get that confidence back here in Orlando.
Great.
So what measures is the Hilton Hotel taking to prepare for these guests to arrive?
I truly, I'm beyond proud to work for Hilton. We just recently announced our new clean stay, and that is we partnered with Lysol and Mayo Clinic, and hot off the press, just released our new clean room initiative, and it'll probably be live next week. This hotel actually just did some videoing so that we can get it on out there to show truly what is a clean stay at Hilton going to be. We all know and recognize Lysol and the Mayo Clinic, well known. So a lot of new great safe practices are in place. What's great about Hilton is we already introduced about a year and a half ago digital key. So truly you can have an arrival into your guest room without even seeing the front desk, all done through the app. All you have to do is become a member of the honors program.
Awesome. So from the meeting planner side, what has it been like in talking with potential attendees or people who are planning events? What are they fearing? What as far as going to a hotel and sitting next to somebody or food and beverage, that kind of thing? What are you hearing? And I'll pose that to any of you.
I'll finish and then we'll pass.
Okay.
But believe it or not, mostly what we're hearing from our groups are that they're in lockdowns in different states. Orlando brings a big international contingency. We do a lot from Canada, UK, China, Asia, Pacific, and they're still at lockdown. And generally, that's about 20 to 30% of their attendance that is locked out. First of all, not getting visas to come into the United States. Number one challenge for our meeting planners. And then the airlines, they're still locked down, I think June 12th up in New York. So, I think everybody is kind of waiting on not just about the phase one in your own states, but what is the phase one, phase two, phase three coming out of the federal government.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that a lot of it is sometimes perception of where the business is based, like you had mentioned, because we've got clients that are out of New York and their perception of what a meeting will or should look like is completely different for clients that we have out of Minnesota. So it really, as far as the business policies and the protocols that they're internally developing and how that matches with the hotel's protocols, I think we're all working on developing that process so that we know how to educate not only the attendees, but maybe our clients, and then working with the hotel to kind of create the perfect scenario. And it's developing each week, each day, it changes. So we're doing a lot of learning right now and trying to create best practices.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add to that, I would also say that I've been a member of the Corporate Event Marketing Association for 20 some odd years and been on the board of directors for about 12 years. And we have access to research. And what we're seeing is that the brand sides, they understand the power of event marketing, and they are ready to spend money at event marketing. Conversely, on the opposite side, we see the attendees, and just as Chris and others were saying, that they want to see the safety factors. They want to make sure that when they do travel to Orlando or Las Vegas, that they are safe. So the initiatives that Chris talked about are going to be critical to communicate to the attendee base to make sure that they feel safe to travel and attend events.
Okay.
Christine, you are in the epicenter of New York and all the devastation over there. Do you feel like there are going to be some major changes to have corporate events in New York right now?
100%. I know from my own perspective, it's changed the face of how we're going to do things. I would envision that if we even get anybody out, to come to something, we're going to look at a very reduced attendance. We're going to look at social distancing, on our own space, in our own space, in our offices. If we have a conference room right now that holds 22 people, I envision we're only going to be putting 11 in there, and
wow.
The whole food service is going to change. So for New York, we canceled all of our events firm-wide indefinitely, but when they do start to come back, the New York aspect of it is going to be extremely different, as you've said, than what's going to be happening in Florida. I envision that, we'll be able to get back to events in Florida faster than we will even do that in New York. I personally don't even see that happening through the end of the year.
And how much?
That's a good point, though, because if your attendees are coming from all over, what do you do? Just ignore the people that are concerned about flying from New York down? Or that's where regional meetings, I think, are going to pop up. And I don't know about New York because it will take a little bit. I completely agree. But for regional meetings, for people that are afraid to fly, that's another barrier of entry, right? So if you can get your attendees there by driving, maybe you can have more smaller events and hopefully achieve the same goal. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and all the protocols. Like I said, we're going to have to educate up and down and sideways to everybody who wants to know, so everybody feels comfortable and safe going to the meeting to, achieve whatever they're set out to do.
And how about,
absolutely.
And how about you, Gordon? You do a lot of international shows. How do you think this is going to affect you?
I was on the phone with our London office just yesterday, and the UK is still under lockdown. Certain countries are coming out of lockdown. You've seen Germany. There have been some of the states in Germany are now starting to allow trade shows or trade fairs to happen. And we're all going to wait and see what happens with those first few. That's why I love the case study that Chris talked about, because if the AAU can have a successful event. If people practice the right protocols and social distancing, 30 days from now, if there's not really an uptick, that's going to be a great positive news to share with the industry.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I'm nervous about it, but I'm really hopeful and really excited to see what the outcome of that is, because we need something to refer to. The uncertainty of this is probably the biggest battle that we have at the moment, because we have nothing to fall back on, nothing to reference. So we need something that's positive moving forward that we can share with our clients.
And I think part of that too is that somebody's got to be first, right? Somebody's got to take the risk. There'll be criticism either way, but take the risk and say, hey, I want to be part of rebuilding. I want to be part of helping out this thing happen.
Right.
So I think that's a good stance to take for sure.
And our success is that people trust Orlando, and have for forever. And if we can come out and focus on the safety element and being able to say we could do it right. I mean, we're number 2 to Las Vegas when it comes to meetings, and they are no way prepared in a collaborative way as Orlando is, ensuring the true safety of our guests, from the arrival in Orlando to getting them into their hotels. And I'll tell you, the greatest thing coming out of this is the partnerships and the collaboration from everyone. Hilton, ideally competes with the Marriott, and, we compete with Hyatt, but this epidemic, has brought us all together to realize that we're in it as one, and let's get those guests in. Let's prove we are safe, and we're going to do the right thing and continue on that trust factor. Without trust, any city's gonna fall apart right now.
To continue with the safety talk, things like buffet lines, 6 to a round table, are those a day of the past? I mean, are those gone?
I think you're going to see buffets gone, or you're going to see them served by us, the attendees, or by our team versus the attendees serving it themselves. We'll already have the safety protocol, the gloves, the mask, and we'll just scoop. But I think you're going to start to see a lot more disposable. You're going to see a lot more grab and go. But again, you could still have a tremendous quality meeting packaged the same way as previously done.
Can we still get the big cookies though? That's important. That's been a major concern of mine. I don't want to get rid of my cookies.
Listen, I didn't get a chin without a cookie.
So I mean, we see over in China, just getting on public transportation, temperature stations. Are we going to see that in hotels?
That's the $1 million question, and you will. I think you are going to see it in some smaller boutique type hotels. I will tell you that temperature check of my own team probably will become a standard, and if you aren't within that temperature range, we're going to ask you to stay home. But I don't know if we're going to temperature check every single guest that comes through, but very, very big part of the conversation right now.
And from the meeting planner side, what do you see? I mean, obviously you have a lot of touch points, registration, all of that. How do you see that changing on your end?
Well, where, I'm going to stop talking, but where a lot of the high touch points are. I think you're going to see visibility almost 24/7 by our staff on the floor cleaning. I think you're going to see much more hand sanitizing areas that you've never seen before. Just the general awareness will be much more available, and there'll be much more signage in reference to being cautious about social distance and what have you.
Okay, Christine, Heather, Gordon?
That's a really good question. I hadn't really thought about registration, but right before everything exploded and we had a big event scheduled in Miami, and I was coming from New York. So I had oh no, we can't shake hands, we can't touch anything. I was coming down there with that in my mind. And the first thing I brought up was, how are we going to handle registration? I don't want people handing over name badges. I wanted to protect my team. And one of the options that was floated was to put them have everybody have a packet, with their name badge in it in an envelope, and they just get the package. But now, as I'm sitting here thinking of this, I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to touch something that someone else touched anyway. I think I'm very biased being in New York, so I've got a definite level of fear, and I don't want to touch anybody. But I'm trying to envision how registration would work. It'll obviously need to be far away. We might use iPads, rather than sitting there with a pen and having somebody at a table. It might just be, give your name from 6 feet away, and we'll check you in that way. But I don't know. That's a very good question, and it's going to have to evolve. For me, in my mind, I don't know. So I would love to hear what everyone else says.
Okay.
I've heard people suggested to mail registrations packets out, but I really think it depends on the goal of the registration experience. Because I have clients that really want their guests to spend hours in a registration experience environment. They want them to interact with the brand. They want them to take photographs. They want them to network. So it's not a, hey, pick up your materials and go scenario. So I think it depends on whether they just need a name badge or if they're looking to get an experience out of it. And that's a different set of goals. But I agree. I think the conference app might replace a lot of the paper, which is good environmentally as well. So maybe you don't get the packet. Maybe the only thing that you touch is the name badge. And maybe that's a self-service kiosk to get it printed out, and you grab your lanyard and go, and then you can wipe it down with whatever you would like. And then maybe use the conference app moving forward through the event itself. But like I said, I think the challenge is going to be, what is the goal of the registration environment? If you're just picking up materials, that's one thing. But if it's supposed to be an experience, it's more challenging. It's, how do I have fun, interact, but don't touch anything and don't touch anybody else?
Right.
And stay apart. It's going to be an interesting collaboration to figure out what we're going to do with those.
Yeah, because the registration line is one of the first places you greet your friends from all over your company. It's like, oh, there you are. It's good to see you. You have your conference friends that you meet. And so that poses a challenge. Gordon, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, I was in San Francisco for an event right before the lockdown, and we had signage everywhere. We had hand sanitizers everywhere. We had signage, do not shake hands, elbow pump or whatever you want to do, but don't touch each other. And the one thing we did not do, it's funny, is the registration area. And thinking about this, Heather, I was going to agree with you, is maybe you have to look back. And early in my career, we used to mail everyone badges. When we were doing large events of 50 to 100,000, we would just send them in the mail. You might have to look back to do it that way. But again, that experience is key, right? I mean, that's the whole reason someone comes to an event. So we have to now rework what that experience is going to be, I think is also really important as well.
Gordon, let me ask you this. So who do you think is responsible for the safety? Who's going to enforce it? Is it going to be the hotel's responsibility, the fire marshal, or the meeting planner, or is it just a collaborative of everybody coming together?
I think it is everyone. But one of the things I'm doing is I'm going to bring a best practice from the UK here to the US, because in Europe, they actually have a health and safety officer. And their job is to make sure that our employees, my clients' employees, and the attendees are all safe. All the vendors we use are all safe. And they walk around and they let us know of things that are not, both in planning and then on site. So I think that's something that I'm going to start doing here, more here in the States, that we do every day in our European offices.
I think you missed a shareholder in that scenario. I think it's the meeting planners, the hotels, and also the attendee. I mean, we want to put a little bit of responsibility on the people who are attending as well. Now, we want to educate them for sure. I don't want them to come into this scenario blind, but currently we're more in a government suggested mode where people are doing exactly what the government says, and we don't have a lot of freedom to do things. But as it opens up, we are going to need the attendees to also take a little bit of responsibilities to actually do self-reliance on washing your hands and doing it. So they're a partner in this experience, not a, hey, what do I do? Like we will try to educate them as much as we can, but they need to be somewhat responsible as well for themselves and to take care for the other people that are attending.
Right.
I think you could probably position it as a partnership. The partnership is the way to go. Like, hey, we'll do our part, you do your part, and together we'll create a safe environment.
I like the health and safety inspector, though. That's neat. My only concern with that is liability. So if the health and safety inspector fails for some reason in our environment in the US, it could be a little bit more detrimental, and that worries me a little bit.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about making safe live events, and that's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
What about virtual events? What place well, let me ask this question. First of all, are virtual events going to replace live events?
No.
They're going to partner within live events.
Correct.
Okay.
It's really going to be the hybrid event solution where you're going to have certain parts that are face-to-face and certain parts that are online. I did a project many years ago, and I was telling this one CMO about the World Cup and people want to attend a World Cup experience. Well, some folks want to watch it on television in their living room like I have here. Other folks want to grab their friends and go to the Irish bar up the road and share that pint of Guinness with their comrades and root on their team. And others are going to want to go to Barcelona or Paris, France to see it live. So each of those is a different experience, and you have to now evolve your event strategy to deliver the content in the way your attendees want to experience, both online and face-to-face. That's what I think the future of event marketing will be.
Okay.
I would take that a step further too. Depends on what the information is that you're sharing. If it's going to be something that has to be hands-on, the virtual component will share the information. But if you have to, learn how to use a machine or something that you're going to be selling as a salesperson, you're going to need to touch and feel and move the machine. So it's not going to be the case for all events, but I agree that there's a place for it. It's not the same experience, and it's not an answer for everything. It's going to be a good hybrid solution for the people that are concerned about traveling or that can just take the information and run with it. But it will be a little bit different moving forward. And hybrid, I think, will be the name of the game for at least the next 6 months.
And Christine, I know you do a partner or an attorney retreat. How does virtual work for that?
I've been trying to figure that out because we had already canceled our retreat for this year. And I was thinking perhaps we'll have to do, rather maybe greet everybody online as one, giant group, and then everyone can break off into their individual practices. But I know what they're already missing is the face-to-face. Like everybody is missing the face-to-face. And when you're face-to-face, you have the trust factor, you have the real, like I can see you, I can actually be with you. And that's what they're missing. And I don't think a virtual retreat would do that for them. It might work in the small term, but long term, they'll need something face to face, whether it's a half day program where they can just see each other, because for a lot of them, a lot of lawyers that might have joined and they've never physically met anybody, that's really going to be, affecting their trust of everybody and how they play a part in feeling like they're part of the firm. So I don't see virtual being our retreat option going forward.
Do you think there'll be a security issue too? Because sometimes board retreats have really highly sensitive information, and doing that virtually puts a little bit more of the information at risk. I mean, we're not talking about Zoom passwords at this level. We're talking about stuff that might change the trajectory of the business moving forward. Maybe it's, an acquisition or something like that you're discussing at the board meeting that's now recorded and shared and, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you can't control, once you send it out, you can control who has access to it, but people can record what's on their screen. They may be doing it for their own personal use later, but then you've got a disgruntled employee that says, I don't like this company anymore. I've got some inside information. There's definitely a risk involved in all that. Not trying to be, on the downside of it, but that is a reality for sure. And we've all been to meetings where some very sensitive things have been discussed. Mm-hmm. And so that's an important part of it too.
Did you guys feel prepared for hybrid meetings, know what exactly a hybrid meeting is, how to do one, and what questions to ask?
I would say yes and no. We've had people that have done parts of their meetings that's streamed or connected virtually in different ways, but not at this intensity. So no, our team here has learned a lot in the last 2 months.
I had done quite a few in my past life. I thought I was out of that world, to be honest with you, because the power, the survey results talk about how powerful face-to-face is compared to virtual events. I could show you survey results that confirm that. But now all of a sudden I'm going back to what I used to do and doing a lot more virtual events. And there's one thing that Cisco did a couple of years ago, and they moved to a hybrid model. And one of the things they proved is that a hybrid model does not take away or cannibalize the face-to-face experience. It actually adds to it. They actually tracked people who visited the event online, and then they saw in years later that those people who saw it online that had never been face-to-face saw what the experiences they were missing on site, and they showed up a following year, which is awesome.
That's a great point. I like that. So you can see the energy of what is happening live, and it makes you anticipate going for a future year. That's great. That's a good point.
Yeah, and when you go back to 9/11 and all the other type disasters that we've had, everything went back to virtual, but ended very, very quickly. And I agree with you, Gordon. There's nothing like the excitement on site, but in the interim, it's going to allow the internationals to be as involved with, God forbid, their state or their countries don't let them in, and still participate with their colleagues live.
Well, Chris, that brings up a very good question. When do you think attendees are going to feel comfortable attending live events again?
They're ready. Believe me, I'm talking to meeting planners daily. It pains them to have to cancel the meeting. Our associations thrive on meetings. That's how they live, and they can't wait to get back.
I think people are looking for the process. They're looking for, this has worked. They want the reference point that we were talking about in Orange County. Like, this was successful. 30,000 people came. And yes, maybe this was a bump that we hit, but we fixed it. Look at this. This is the pattern.
Right.
I think that's the problem. They don't have a pattern that says this something to reference. And once they do, that will be pretty powerful, because the attendees want to come, but they're uncertain too. They want to know, how can I keep my family safe? How can I safely travel? And if there's no protocol for that, for them to say, hey, they did it, then maybe they won't come. But once that pattern hits, I think it'll be a great thing for all of us.
Well, I think that the other thing too about that is that we've got a varying levels of concern amongst attendees. Some people are like, forget it, I'm going. I'll sit on top of somebody. I don't care. And others who are going to be like, okay, if 3 years go by and nobody dies of this, then I might get on a plane. You can't do least common denominator planning. No. I think you have to consider people's concerns, show them that you're trying to mitigate whatever the issues might be. Just from our end, we'll be sanitizing microphones more than we ever have. We'll be, anybody that touches anybody, we'll mask them up, whatever. But I agree with you. I think people are like, let's get this thing going, please. And it's not just our industry, it's everybody.
Everybody.
For sure. If you stop and think about how many people this whole thing influences. We've all got our staffs, our crew, but we work with tons of freelancers and people that only come in for big events, things like that. It's like, wow, they're gone. They're invisible now.
You're right. It really does trickle down from the top all the way down to the bottom.
Absolutely.
What I will say for our industry is that this is what we are good at. We're service-based. We are solution providers at the very base of what we do.
Absolutely.
So if we can find a solution, we will.
Yep.
And we'll work as a partner to get them all here. So I have a lot of hope for our industry to get there.
Well, meeting planners and hotels, they know how to roll with the punches. They know how to make changes on the fly, so they're very good at that.
Let me ask, just change the subject a little bit. We've all seen a lot of different ideas come out of this. What are some innovative things that you've seen that you thought, oh, no, that's a good idea?
I've got two. We have a large global online shopping company that we're working with, and we manage all their trade show activations. And one of the things they're doing right now is they're saying, you know what, we can't go to events. We have all this budget, so let's think for a minute. Let's use this time to think strategically. So they're actually having us go out and research what are the best events they should be speaking at, hosting, creating to reach their target audiences for the target audiences they have today, and plus the ones they're going to have in 21 and 22, because their business is shifting. So I think that is innovative, that they're actually taking the time not to do an event, but to really think about what to do at events better in the future, where to go to get their message across. And the other one I like is another client of ours and Heather or Christine talked about this earlier. It's go local, it's go regional. We're actually talking to a client about fitting out a truck and taking the message to their audiences compared to having them come to us, right, in Orlando or Las Vegas. And this is something that we've seen has great success. And we're thinking for the next 6 to 8 months, this could be a great way to get their message out once people feel comfortable to go back to the office. That's the key thing, of course.
Do you have mobile conferences? That's kind of neat. It's like mobile marketing, but the mobile conference, that's an interesting idea.
I'll tell you from our aspect, it's been speeding up the technology that we were planning maybe in a year from now or 2 years from now, but now implement it, i.e. the example of digital key. But now you can select your own room. You'll be able to turn the lights on. You'll be able to turn your TV on, set the temperature to your desired specification, all touch points that belong to your personal phone. So some really exciting stuff coming your way. Even the fact that you'll be able to text with the front desk any type needs you'll need. So everything is going to, I believe, run off of your wonderful iPhone through that digital key app, and you'll be able to order in-room dine-in, set your temperature again, turn your lights on, turn them off, check into your room, and still have contact through a text type system through our hotel.
And let me ask you this, Chris, and this is we're going back to something that we were talking about earlier. All this extra work, all the extra sanitization, all of the, that's people who have to get paid and materials that have to get bought. How is that going to affect pricing, room rates?
I don't think you're going to see room rates skyrocket. And during this time, I also don't think you're going to see room rates go down. We know that from the last crisis back in 9/11, we finally gotten, 8 years later, whatever, 10, 12, but back to the rates that we believe are fair and out there in the industry. I don't anticipate a major increase. I think that, unfortunately, the ownerships are going to have less margin, but they know it's the right thing to do right now.
Yeah.
I would hope that as it becomes more efficient, though, within the hotel environment, that eventually the higher level costs will marginalize out because you get better and more efficient at it. It's kind of like the fire retardant drape or fire retardant decor that we always bring into hotels and such now. I mean, it's an added cost, but it's a necessary cost. It makes everything better moving forward. It protects the attendees. So it's worth the investment.
And maybe
I'll tell you, it's reorganizing your labor. We used to clean rooms every day. Well, now we're not going to clean rooms every day.
Right.
And though that labor that was there to clean rooms every day will be out front cleaning high touch point areas. So you're not adding additional labor, you're just diversifying it. Okay. And that's a creative way of.
Very good point.
The only true costs are going to be PPE. But that's going to be a norm eventually, and it's not just this hotel. It's everyone. It's offices. So
sure. Okay, let me end with one personal question. What would you say has been the biggest positive for you during all of this?
Start with you, Gordon.
Yep, I'll go. Hello, everyone. For me, it's all of us in this business. We're all workaholics. We're all A+ personalities. It's really been good for me because I've not seen my family for an 8-week stretch at one time in probably 25 years. So for me personally, it's been a good time to reset. I'm spending time at home, which I really enjoy. I'm spending time with family who I love. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's allowing me to slow down a little and maybe appreciate all this. That's on the personal side. on the professional side, I'm doing the same thing. We are reorganizing ourselves. We're streamlining processes. We're taking the time that we usually never have because we're running from event to event to event to event to really think about what we do and how we can do it better. So it's really given us the time to think.
Okay.
Heather?
Yeah, agreed. I am spending a lot more time with my children, and I don't know about you guys, but I have 3 of them under the age of 8, which is super entertaining and doing so it has been a really fun time. I'm learning a lot about my children and me as being a homeschool parent. But it has been really neat. I mean, the bond that I'm kind of connecting with them over the homeschooling and the PE and the music and the dancing around in our living room is kind of fun. I mean, I would not have done this otherwise. And so I will say that there's only 5 days left of actual schoolwork. So I'm looking forward to summer.
Yes.
But it's been really fun doing that. And professionally, I agree with Gordon, just kind of reconnecting with our vendors and our clients up and down of the relationships that we've cultivated over the years and really connecting a little bit more on a personal level. How are you? How is your family? First and foremost. And then how's your business? We want to be there when we get back to this. We want to make sure that our communication is open. If you have any changes, let us know. So we're ready for it. When someone says go, our team is all charging the same direction. So that's been kind of a positive, I think. I mean, our industry is, I think, amazing anyway, because we focus on service. So our attitudes are focused on the positive and how can we fix it. And I love that about it. So I'd say that's a positive for sure.
Cool.
You've heard me mention, but breaking the barriers of competition away. It's all one now, and we're all inclusive, and we get that we're all here for the same purpose, which is to deliver an exceptional, safe meeting for our guests.
Awesome.
Christine?
For me, I would agree with everybody. A chance to slow down. Prior to this, it was, leave for work super early in the morning, get home at 7:30, you're eating dinner at like 9 o'clock, and then you go to bed and then you do it all again. So it's nice to be eating at normal times and to just be able to sit on the couch and enjoy a cup of coffee and reconnect with my family. We really have made outstanding efforts, to have FaceTimes a lot more often. For work, we have a weekly team call, which we weren't doing prior to this. And to keep it fun and lighthearted, we've tasked everybody with a question each week. And it's been fun exploring and hearing from members of the team, what are their thoughts, whether it ranged from, if you had to watch one movie on repeat, what would it be? Like hearing the different thoughts or, a book recommendation or something like that. And just having the chance to connect with everybody, in this uncertain time where, you're not seeing them, and we're not doing that on a visual level. We're doing it on the phone, but it's the opportunity for people to know we are still here, we are still a team, and we care about you. So, we'll talk about work, but then let's talk about us. So it's been a chance to really connect with people professionally and personally. Awesome.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. For myself, I discovered, I was not built to be a school teacher for my kids. Those are the things you learn. But on a professional level, one, we get to catch up on all these little projects we don't have time for. But we can now call our clients and build that relationship of, hey, it's not that, oh, do you need a projector or how big of a screen, but hey, what do you need? How can I help you out personally? And I love that about this industry.
I would agree. I think it's been we sort of set a goal when it first started of reaching out to about 10 people a day and just saying, call them, email them, text them, whatever. Hey, how's it going? And people actually have time to talk. It's amazing. And they answer the phone.
Yep.
Unbelievable. So I think that's been great. I think for me, it's just finally accepting the uncertainty of it and that there's really nothing I can do. I mean, as much as I'd like to, as much as I'd like to flip a switch and make things back to normal, whatever normal's going to be, it's just not going to happen. So, but hey, thank you very much for being with us for this. For those of you who are watching, we hope this has been helpful in just trying to understand a little bit more where we are and what's going on in life. And we are here for you. And we hope that we all make it through this. I'm sure we all will. And we'll come out strong on the other side and ready to do some things. I can't wait to see you all on events.
That's right.
All right?
Absolutely. Same here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.